Hey, I'm Tim Malloy from Movie Maker, and you're about to watch my interview with Alison Brie and Jeff Baena about the new film that they wrote together, Spin Me Round. Baena directs the film, and Brie stars as Amber, a naive restaurant employee at an Italian chain who gets to go on a once-in-her-lifetime trip to a corporate retreat where she meets a creepy CEO played by Alessandro Nivola. His assistant, or his accomplice, is played by Aubrey Plaza, who is married to Jeff Baena and happens to be in the cover of the latest issue of Movie Maker. And now, here's a clip, followed by our talk.
This is so cute. My husband actually loves when I wear really revealing and sexy stuff. Not that I would ever do anything while I'm here, but, you know.
Do you need anything else? Because I'm just going to talk to my friend right now.
No, it's fine. It's actually really good for my self-esteem, though, because I love getting attention from men, and it's like that kind of sexual energy, flirty, just makes my body feel good, and then you kind of like bring that energy back to the marriage, so it's like healthy.
Totally.
When you're figuring out the setting for the movie, were you just kind of the mindset, I would really like to go to Italy now? I mean, we've been locked in our houses for months and months. Where's the most beautiful place we could ever shoot a movie?
No, I mean, it wasn't really reverse engineered like that. This was based off of an article I had read about an actual program that an actual unnamed Italian franchise restaurant in America has, where they send their top managers to Italy to their institute to learn about food, wine, and culture. And the person who wrote the article was complaining about how they thought they were going to be staying in this amazing villa that you see on their website, but really it's this dirty dorm, and that they were going to, tour the countryside, and they kind of were just like stuck in this dorm. And then the one thing that really happened was the chef de cuisine made a bolognese for them, and that was like the highlight of the trip, and they thought it was such a waste. So I thought that was a really funny setup, that you have these expectations and they're completely dashed, and then kind of decided to embellish that a little bit, I guess.
Yeah, when did the possibility of him being like a Jeffrey Epstein come into it? It gets very creepy at some point.
Well, did you say possibility or possibility?
A possible Jeffrey Epstein. I don't want to ruin the movie.
You didn't
Possibility.
You didn't say possible.
I think I said a possible Jeffrey Epstein. But he
So
might.
I think
You weren't doing a pasta pun?
No, that would be. Can we just take this whole thing over? Can we just start over?
Just say what the possibility. Just say
the possible Jeffrey.
Yeah,
Epstein.
I mean, so when I first conceived this movie, it was right after we had done The Little Hours, which was in 2016. If you asked me who Jeffrey Epstein was, like, maybe I'd have some context. I wasn't fully aware of the horrible island and sex trafficking stuff. When we started getting into the actual, the character was remarkably similar to that from way back then. But when Alison and I started kind of getting into it, he was now in sort of the national consciousness. So we even had a line at one point that was like, she's the Epstein, he's the Ghislaine. No, he's the Epstein, she's the Ghislaine. So it was definitely on our radar.
Yeah, it was definitely much more blatant before, and we sort of decided to dial it back.
No, I mean, one of the things we did that's just like kind of subtle is it takes place in 2017. Mm-hmm. So ideally it is before all the Me Too stuff. And so the Amber character doesn't have the sort of, I guess, same confidence you would have now, knowing what everyone knows now, and it being sort of, there was a little bit more of like it was harder to speak out and be a whistleblower for messed up stuff like this. Yeah. So I think when we were writing this, had the benefit of that, knowledge, but it's designed to kind of predate Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah.
And also I think that like the way that Jeff and I write, there is a lot of sharing of personal stories and personal experiences. And we were able to sort of infuse Amber's experiences with Nick with some specifics from like personal experiences that I've had with men in my life a long time ago. And yeah, kind of going into that mindset of Amber as like a really passive character who's like almost too go with the flow or too polite, and she really doesn't want to rock the boat, and like uncomfortable situations almost kind of paralyze her. That's certainly something that, like, in my 20s, I experienced in certain situations with men. And I think that that's something that's at play here. Whereas, Amber is very naive, but I also think that in her experiences with Nick, there's like part of her that wants to just ignore the red flags, because also everybody around her has been saying to her, like, you're going to fall in love. Like, she's been sort of already brainwashed into believing the fantasy idea of what should happen and how she should react to the things that are happening to her. And also at the same time, just feeling like she doesn't even quite know what to do with uncomfortability, which we see, even earlier in the scene with Molly Shannon when she's like borrowing clothes, how Amber just doesn't always know how to navigate an uncomfortable situation.
That's probably my favorite scene in the whole movie. I hated her so much when she wouldn't get out of the room, and how incredibly uncomfortable it was. What was it like to shoot that and to write that? It's really well done.
I think it's one of our favorite scenes in the movie too.
Yeah, it's definitely my favorite. And I think writing it was really fun because it just kept pushing it to the point of absurdity. And when we started shooting it, Molly actually added a couple of extra beats that weren't even in the script, which in my mind, it was so borderline and like verging on, like, I don't know if we can pull off it going this far, but she nailed it and made it still feel completely motivated. Yeah, I mean, I just, like there were a couple of times when people would read the script, they're like, I don't know, this is just going on so long. And we were like, that's the point. It's supposed to go on so long that it's almost like uncanny. And I think that's a testament to Molly's acting ability to be able to pull it off naturally. She's so incredible. And yeah, that truly is one of my favorite scenes in the movie.
Yeah, mine too.
Yeah, there's almost a scream at the screen moment where you think she might give her only jacket, and you're just like,
she has to draw the line somewhere. It's so hard for her, but she's gotta just draw that line.
Yeah.
We can 100% skip this one. I didn't want to let it sit out there, but you talked about past experiences. Was this movie a way to sort of deal with some of that stuff, or to own some of that stuff in a, I feel like I'm overusing the word therapeutic, but is there some element of therapy in getting to relive stuff like that and put your own spin on it?
No pun intended.
That was not intended as a pun.
Trust me, everything I know, it's all about spinning and rocking the boat and things like that. Not consciously, no, I don't think so. I don't think I go into any of these, or in my experiences writing with Jeff, I'm not like, I got to work out my shit. But it is definitely interesting the way that perspective can change over time, and the way that you look at stories, that I'll share stuff with Jeff, and even like mid retelling of a story that I've always been like, this is such a funny story about this date I went on with this man who used to be my teacher, and halfway through you're sort of like, this is maybe a mildly traumatic story, actually. But and you know what? And maybe part of it is still funny to me. I think there's something about these experiences where infusing it with specifics from my life, I think, make it easier for us. Like, we're not trying to put a commentary on it. Right. We're sort of just able to show a behavior and a power dynamic, and sort of just show these different kinds of things without consciously having an agenda.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting that the kind of, I don't know whether to call him predatory or if he's just a mess, if he even like has an MO, or if he's just a disaster. But he does really seem to have like a pattern and a routine, and he also seems totally hopeless and lost.
The way this was designed a little bit is you're watching what was once a well-oiled machine start to kind of crumble and fall apart, and the wheels are falling off. So you're seeing this program at its worst, basically. And whereas maybe if we had gone there a couple of weeks or months earlier, it went off without a hitch in the most negative, horrific, psychosexually inappropriate way. You're now seeing like the chinks in the armor, and for various reasons. So I think, he is a mess, and his program is sort of crumbling, but at one point it wasn't like this.